as long as you're giving it a good effort, then that's a great start. So what we'll do tonight is we'll do a few stretches and we'll hold them a little longer than you might be used to. The intention is to try to be nice and steady with that, not fidget around too much. We want to feel the stretch, but we don't want to be fighting it or feeling pain. So if there's too much discomfort, you just got to come out a little bit nice and slowly. Don't try to push the body. We never try to push our body. Otherwise, there's going to be something that pushes back, and that's not healthy. So we want to be able to find a balance of what we feel, but also meet that. And we're watching that as we breathe through it potentially. And then we'll do a little bit of mindfulness stuff at the end. And if you guys have got any questions at the end as well, we might throw that in at the end as well so that you can actually, because there may be some questions that arise. So to start with, let's actually stand up. And the good thing about being able to practice at home is you don't feel like you have anybody else watching you, so you can be as open as you like. Make sure you've got a clear space. There's nothing kind of around you that's going to get knocked over or sharp objects or anything like that. And if you do already have any soreness in your body or any tightness that just feels a little bit nagging today, then please don't try to push into or force through that. I'm just going to go through that gently, because we don't want to be trying to make the body do things that it's just not ready or comfortable with. The intention of the yoga practice is that over time, your body adjusts and you mentally adjust to that rather than just trying to do it all at once. So let's just stand with our feet slightly apart. And rather than doing anything else, as you stand here, close your eyes and notice your breathing. Now try to breathe slowly through your nose. And whatever you're thinking, let that be. So it's not that we're trying to stop our thoughts. We're not trying to make ourselves totally peaceful and quiet. It's more just recognizing the movement of our breath in and out of the lungs through your nose. And then whatever thoughts you're noticing in your mind or whatever feelings come up in your body, let them be, and just focus on trying to get your breath into an even rhythm. Now, don't breathe too deep. Maybe even put hands on your belly. And it's like you feel like you're breathing just gently into the belly. The belly draws out as you inhale and draws out, even as you exhale. And sometimes it's hard just to focus on your breathing. You feel like you want to do something. Let's just try 5 more of these breaths. And you're not doing it right or wrong if things happen mentally, you fidget a little bit. It's more like we're just trying to allow ourselves to experience whatever it is on all levels, with just the gentle awareness of the breath there. Try 3 more. Don't breathe too deep. Try not to force the breath, but breathe a little deeper than you normally do. 2 more. And then 1 more breath in. And then stand there. Keep your eyes closed. And just notice what you're feeling at this moment. It might not be much at all. Or maybe your thinking is busier or quieter. That's accepting that for whatever it is. So rather than feeling like we need to do something about it, can you just let yourself be with that? It's pretty simple just to breathe, but sometimes it's a lot harder to allow ourselves to watch ourselves breathing rather than feeling like we need to be doing too much with that. All right, open your eyes now. And then, keeping yourself nice and upright, let's start to move our arms side to side. Just bend your knees a little bit. And as you're doing this, rather than just moving too suddenly, see if you can be aware of your breathing. Notice your breath coming in and out of the nose. You might feel a little cooler on the inhale, and you might feel it a little warmer as you breathe out. All right, let's start to bring a little bit more movement. Keep aware of your breath, but then start to lower your hips and sit down towards the floor and come back up. So you're kind of doing a little twist and shimmy and shake as we come up and down. Try not to go too fast. And if it's too strong, you don't sit quite so far down. You can start to feel how your heart rate gets up a little bit. You get a bit more heat going. And this is good because it's kind of preparing our body. especially in these colder conditions, then we want to be able to get the body a little bit warmer before we start stretching into it. A little bit more of this. Try to slow your breathing as best you can. All right, and then come back up. And you probably notice you've got a bit of extra blood and energy flowing through. Catch your hips now and pick your right knee up and start to draw little circles with that leg. And then go back the other way. So we draw the circle in the opposite direction. If it's a bit strong, don't bring the leg up quite so high. And then bring your right foot down. Let's see how we go with the left leg. Drawing the circles. Try not to lean back. It's nice and fluid if you can, not making those circles too uneven. And then we'll go back the other way. Awesome. Now with your feet slightly apart, bend your knees and bring your belly onto your knees and let your hands come to the floor and start to let yourself sort of shake side to side a little bit. Maybe even you move your hands around to the outsides of your feet. Keep your belly on your thighs so we don't have to straighten the legs here. So we want to look after our spine because our spine is really like the kingpin for our body. It's our central part of supporting us. It's our energetic and it's all where the nerves and the whole nerve supply to the body supports us. So in our practice of yoga, we really try to look after our spine. Now let's bend the knees and we sit into an imaginary chair. You take your arms forward. So your knees are apart, but they're not falling in. You start to feel a little bit of strength in those legs coming in. And this is really good. We're going to have strong legs in our rugby, particularly when we're obviously pushed in the scrum or when we're pressing off to run and sidestep someone. You need to strengthen those thighs. But can you also watch your breathing? So even though the legs are going to start to warm up, try to be aware of your breath at the same time. Awesome. Now raise your arms up and lift up nice and high and see if you can come up off your heels onto your tiptoes. And then bring your arms down to catch your hips. Stay on your tiptoes though, so your heels are up. And now can you sit down into an imaginary chair, but staying nice and high on your tiptoes, so your heels are off the floor. Quite challenging for the balance. Maybe some of you can take your arms forward. That's it. So not only do we need to practice with stretching, but strengthening is really important in our body as well. Without support, there can be no stretching. Good. Catch your hips again. Straighten up through the legs. Lower your heels. Let that blood, let that heat move through the thighs. All right, catch your hips now. Can you bring your right knee up to hip height? If it's a bit strong, lower the knee a bit. And then take your left hand to catch the outside of your right leg. Now, can you bring your right arm to reach back and open your chest to the right? Try to balance on that one standing leg. Pretty challenging. See if you can stay nice and still, not jump around too much though. All right, let's come back to center. Lower your foot down. Pretty hard to keep the balance going and be aware of your breath at the same time. That's where the practice comes into play. All right, so now let's bring the weight or push into your right foot, bring your left knee up to hip height. Try not to lean back here, so lower the foot if it's too strong. And then bring your right hand maybe under the leg or to the outside of the leg. And then you bring your left arm back. And it's like you're looking towards your left hand as you bring your chest open to the side. We're trying to balance here, but keep the hip and the leg nice and still. Keep pressing down into that right leg. And then slowly we turn to the front. Catch your hips. Lower the leg. Awesome. Pretty challenging. Now, let's sit in that chair again. Bring your right leg to cross over your left. And you can bring maybe your right big toe to the floor. And then bring your arms up and cross your right arm under the left and catch your shoulders. Now, can you keep your arms crossed, your legs crossed, but sit your bottom down a little bit more? And some of you might be able to do this without your right foot, but the upper leg touching the floor. Pretty challenging. Awesome. And slowly bring the right leg up, back to the floor, reach your arms up. Bring your left arm under your right now as you catch your shoulders, bend your knees, and bring your left leg up and over the top of the right. And now try not to let yourself look around too much. It's going to be pretty hard to balance otherwise. And when we can start to find balance within our body, that can also go a long way to helping us finding balance emotionally, mentally. So if you can, try to be aware of your breathing still. And try to enjoy the challenge of balancing. Good. Then slowly uncross the legs. Raise the arms up. Lower your hands. Now, from that standing position, let's bring the hands to the top of your hips here. Sort of like as if you're putting your hands into the pockets at the back of your bum there. Press down a little bit. Now, try to squeeze your thighs a bit. Lift your chest. And start to lift your head up as you look along the ceiling, but try not to just fall back. Make sure you're still lifting up. We're not trying to drop back as far as we can. Just this feeling of sort of arching back, almost like we're arching back over an earth ball underneath us. For 3, 2, and then we'll slowly let yourself look forward again. Let the arms come beside you. Give you quite a different sense of feeling after that back bend there. So now bend your knees. Now reach around and grab the back of your calves with your hands, and then lift your hips up, your bum up a little bit in towards the sky, and start to feel a bit of a stretch come through the back of the legs here. Try not to push your legs back though. See if you can lift up through your hips rather than try to push back on your knees. If it gets too strong, you just keep your knees bent more. But if you hold the back of the legs, try not to slip with the hands. Just slowly start to feel the hips lifting and this stretch coming into your hamstrings there, the back of your legs. Now, if it gets too strong, bend your knees more. Otherwise, try not to fidget too much. As you hold this stretch, just notice what you're feeling without trying to run away from it or force it. So we try to focus on our breathing and allow the stretch to happen without us moving around too much or overthinking things. It's pretty challenging because when we start to feel that stretch, mentally we're not used to it. So we want to move, we want to shy away from it. But if you can imagine that you're staying with that stretch, just breathing with it, maybe it doesn't become as hard or as strong. A few more breaths here. Okay, now let's bend the knees and sit into that chair again. Catch your hips or take your arms forward. Let's bring the bottom down. Try to sit down here. It's like you're sitting into an imaginary chair so you feel those thighs working. That's it. Awesome. Good. Now bring your hands to the floor and then step back onto your hands and knees here. That's it. Now we do what we call cat-cow stretches, where when we breathe out, round your back and you kind of go into that angry cat spine as you round through your upper back. And then when you breathe in, you look forward, you lift your chest. And then when you breathe out, you bring the back in the other direction. So can you feel how when you breathe in, you're kind of looking up, you're lifting your chin. And when you breathe out, you're bringing your ribs into your back, you're rounding the back. Let's try one more round of that. Keep breathing through your nose as slowly as you can. Good. Let's try a little bit of balance now. So if you take your right leg off the floor, try to bring it to hip height. That's it. Now, if that feels stable enough, you can balance. See if you can take your left arm up, your opposite arm. All right, now let's see how we go coordinating this. We take a breath in, and then when we breathe out, we bring our knee towards our chest, the arm past the hip, the head towards the knee. And then you go again, you breathe in, you lengthen the arm and the leg. And as you exhale, you bring the knee and the arm back. Try 2 more of these. Breathe in, lengthen the arm and leg. Exhale, knee in, arm back. And then 1 more. Inhale. Exhale, knee in, arm back. And then bring those down to the floor. You can sort of shake the hips around like you're shaking your tail feather. And we'll try the other side. So I'll just swing around for you. The left leg comes up. If it's a bit strong, bend your knee. Try not to be shaking around too much. And if you can, your right arm comes up. But if you can't balance, keep the right hand on the floor. So we're trying to find this balance. All right, let's see how we go with our breath. We breathe in. And then when we breathe out, we bring our left knee towards our chest, the right arm past your hip. And we go again, lengthen, inhale. Exhale, knee and arm back. 2 more. Nice and slow. Notice if we don't rush, then the movement's a lot smoother, our balance improves. Last one. Awesome. Bring those back to the floor. Shake it out a little bit. Now, some of you have probably, maybe you've heard of down dog position in yoga. This is kind of one of our major positions in yoga. What we need to do is from our hands and knees, just tuck your toes, lift your knees off the floor, look towards your feet as you bring your heels towards the floor. Now you might have to bend your knees a little bit. So what you've got to try to do here is keep pressing down into your hands and then try not to fidget too much. Now, if it gets too strong, you can bend your knees a little bit. What you're doing here is you're stretching through your back body, you're strengthening through your arms and legs, and at the same time, can you breathe with this? Let's try to slow our breathing down. The 3, 2, we'll take a breath in, and then let's come down onto our knees and just sit back on your heels for a few moments. You notice probably there might be an extra bit of movement of blood and feeling through your head and your torso. We just slow our breathing down, that will settle for us. Great. Let's come down onto our back now. So you're lying on your back and your heels are up near your hips here. Maybe you can even touch the back of your heels with your thumb and your fingers. Keep your head and shoulders on the floor and then slowly press into the feet to lift your hips up. You feel how your back muscles engage? Now see if you can slowly lower your hips and then bring them up again without your knees kind of flaring. And then we lower the hips again, nice and slowly with control. And then inhale, bring them up again. And again, lower the hips. 1 more, coming up. Holding there. Maybe some of you can raise your arms straight up towards the ceiling. Keep your head and shoulders on the floor. How's your breath going here? Quite challenging. Breathe in. And then slowly lower your arms. Bring your hips to the floor. And let's bring our knees in. And like you're hugging the legs in towards your chest, give them a little squeeze. Keep your head and shoulders on the floor. Keep your hips on the ground. So we just pull those knees in. Now keep your knees together, but put your feet on your knees bent, but put your feet on the floor. Bring your arms out to the ground and roll both of your knees over to the left and turn your head to look to your right hand. Try not to go all the way over. Try not to let your right shoulder come off the floor. So you're just lying with your knees out to the side and your head to the right. And so what we're doing is we're getting a nice twist through our body. And when we twist through the body, it's a lovely way to help the body relax and release. So this is really healthy for your spine. And if you're not pushing it too much, maybe you can start to access that rhythm with your breathing, to slow it down. So rather than feeling like you need to do too much, again, it's more like you're watching your breathing, you're watching how the body responds, and can you be okay with that? Don't feel like you have to change anything. There'll be lots of thoughts and feelings and sensations that come up, and that's totally fine. We're just allowing that rather than kind of ignoring it or resisting it. So the way that we kind of can help ourselves be calmer in situations is by accepting the situation and learning from it, recognizing what we can do with it, rather than continually fidgeting or shuffling away from it. So let's slowly bring our head and our knees to center. And now we can bring both knees out to your right and your head to the left. And then try to stay in this position, breathing slowly, noticing how it feels through your spine or through your shoulders and hips without feeling like you're doing it right or wrong. It's more just perhaps even a bit of curiosity about how it feels. Because a lot of the time when we're doing stuff with yoga, we're sometimes putting our body in positions that we may not be used to. So we kind of find it hard to stay still or focus. So just watch you're not trying to push the body too hard in this position, but also recognize that, yeah, it's going to feel a little different, and that's okay. Just like in times when on the rugby pitch, there are going to be times where we feel like we're not quite in control of things and they're not going the way we want them to. But we can actually slow things down by breathing, recognizing what we're doing and responding to that. So we don't kind of get too excited or overstimulated by that situation. And your breathing here is a really good indication of that. If you're breathing nice and slowly, not too fast, then that's a good sign that your body's responding well to this position, as you are mentally as well. Just a couple more breaths on this side. If it gets a little strong, you can turn your head back a little bit or your knees. And then we'll slowly bring our knees to center and your head. And then bring your legs up and start to do like imaginary bicycle kicking or cycling. But try to do it really slow. So the slower, the better. So we're not going too fast. And notice how that starts to feel like it gets a bit stronger in your belly. And this way, we're starting to strengthen our lower back as well as our belly. And that's really important for stabilizing us in our strength in our legs and the spine, length of our spine. Looking after our posture, which will also help your breathing because your lungs will be stable in position and the diaphragm can move a little more effectively. You might start to tire, so don't try to bring the legs as far forward. Otherwise, stay with it. A bit of warmth is good, recognizing those muscles are warming up. For 3, 2, and then let's bring our feet together with the knees wide and bring your arms beside you. So that those knees stay wide and feel how you're getting a nice stretch through the inside of your thighs there. If it gets a little strong through your knees or through the thighs, then just bring the knees up a little bit. Don't open the legs quite so far. Try not to have your heels too close to your hips either. It's nice slow breaths here. And then slowly bring your knees together. Turn out to the side and let's sit ourselves up facing the front here. Same position of your feet, just bring your knees wide and your feet together. Awesome. Now, if you come back onto your elbows and you bring your right ankle over your left thigh. Keep your foot a little bit active. And then see if you can sit yourself up a little straighter, coming onto your hands now. And feel how that stretch comes into your right hip. If it gets a little too strong on the knee, stay back on your elbows. Otherwise, stay upright and just slide that right leg away from you a little bit. Feel how that gets that stretch in. Try not to be too strong though. And then you're looking maybe to bring your chest and your left leg a little closer to you. And we get a bit more of a stretch going. You got to press into your hands so you're not kind of sinking in your chest. Watch so we're not pushing too strongly though, because we want to look after our knee here. But it can be quite a, keep your hips on the ground, but it can be quite a nice stretch through the hip. And again, we try to slow our breathing as we recognize what we're the feeling, not trying to force it. And then from there, slide your left leg forward to the ground. Take both hands to catch your right foot and then roll the leg up and away from you like you're kind of in a rowboat. So you're letting that leg slide, or the right heel slide towards the left foot, down the left leg. That's it. Couple more of these. There we go. Now let's see if we can go the other way. You might find this a little more challenging. Try not to flare your knee too wide. Keep the knee close into the ribs. You don't have to come all the way forward with the leg if it's too strong as well. Awesome. Bring the leg down. Shake it out a little bit. Now lean back onto your forearms again. Bend your knees. Let's try the other side. Left ankle over the right leg. So when we lean back on our forearms or on our elbows, just lift your chest up. Try not to sink back towards the floor. And just let that left thigh roll a little bit away from you. But again, watch that the knee isn't sore. If it is, bring the knee back towards you a little. Otherwise, if you feel okay through your knees and your back, bring your hands up to still bring your back up to stand up so you're supported on your hands, and press that left leg away from you as you bring your chest towards the shin and bring that left foot a little towards you. So as your chest gets closer to that left shin, it's going to deepen the stretch, but we just got to watch that we're not forcing the knee or in too much discomfort, and watch your bottom's not lifting off the floor. Just got to keep pressing into your hands. If that gets a bit strong, come back onto your elbows or your forearms again. So whenever the hips are really important for helping us in our balance, in our the way we walk, the way we run. We get a lot of power through our hips as well. But we also need a bit of space and flexibility through them. Otherwise, if they tighten up, it's going to really affect the way that we can jump, we can run, we can kick. So we want to have strength there, but we also want to have some flexibility in our hips. So stretches like this can be really good. All right, let's lengthen the right leg now. Use your left hand to catch or both hands to catch the left foot, and start that little rowing action. If you feel a little bit too strong in your back, then don't bring the leg as far forward or the foot as far forward. Just remember which direction you're rowing with the circles. I'll do 2 more this direction. And then come back the other way, which I always find is a little bit more challenging. So nice and slow, try not to make it too sudden or jerky. Really good for opening up through our hip, but also connecting through our knees and our ankle, our shoulders, maybe even your breath. All right, let's slowly lower that, bring our feet together, shake it out a little bit. Then bring your feet to the floor, your hands back behind you, And now see if you can lift your hips up to about knee height. Bring the hips down again. And again, lift your hips towards knee height. Keep your heels down. And lower the hips. Let's try one more. Lift your hips and see if you can hold here. If it's a bit strong, bring your hips down a little. Otherwise, try not to let your head fall backwards. Keep pressing into your hands, your feet. And then slowly lower your hips. Let's sit with the feet together in butterfly again. Maybe shake the wrists out a little. All right, another great stretch for us for the front of our hips. Come onto your knees. Step your right foot forward. You might have done this in training to warm yourself up. Catch your right thigh. Push the top of the back foot down and then sit down with that front knee. That's it, but try to keep your spine straight. So your chest up. And you're going to start to feel a bit of a stretch in that back leg, yeah? Or that back thigh. Now, see if you can take the hands away from the thigh and whether you can still balance but stay sitting in that lunge. If it gets too strong, come out a little bit. Don't try to force it. Otherwise, stay holding the thigh. Or if you can keep your balance, take your arms upright. So you're going to have to press into that front foot to help you balance. Yeah, challenging. You can see some of you falling out a little bit. So it's also helping us slow things down. We don't rush into it. All right, catch your thigh again. Breathing nice and slowly. And then bring the hip back towards you. Both knees on the ground. Swap the legs over. Left foot forward. Catch the hands to the front thigh. Sit forward in the hips. Bring the top of the back foot to the floor. So remember, we don't try to force the stretch here. Just feel where it is and imagine that you can stay with that rather than trying to deepen it anymore. Try not to fidget too much, as challenging as it is. If it gets too sore, then just come up a little bit. Otherwise, if you can keep your balance, let's take the hands away from your front leg, maybe catch the hips, or can you take the arms up and balance there? That's it. Try not to have that front knee move around too much. Keep good pressure pushing into that front foot. And then let's catch that front thigh. Bring the hip back towards you. Come down onto your hands and knees again. And we can do those little circles we were doing before. All right, now if you bring your hips back towards your hips back towards your heels here, and then bring your arms beside you and let your forehead or your head rest on the floor in front of you. Close your eyes. Try not to fidget here. Just notice how when you're in this position, everything starts to quieten down a little. So we're not rushing. We're not trying to do anything physically here, more just allow ourselves to relax. And perhaps you can notice things in your body or thoughts or feelings coming through, and that's okay. If you can, watch your breathing as well. Just notice how your breath naturally comes in this position for you. If we can resist that temptation to fidget or try to do something else, we might recognize something else for ourselves. So we're always looking to allow ourselves a little bit of space in what we do. So we're not just going by automatic pilot. We're giving ourselves a little bit of a mental and physical break here, if you like. All right, let's slowly sit yourself up and then lie down on your back. Let your arms rest beside you and let your legs out straight. Close down your eyes and try to lie back here and relax without touching anything or anyone else. And just allow yourself to close your eyes and let your breath be nice and gentle. And from this position, see if you can just stay here for a few moments. And again, it's allowing whatever thoughts or feelings you notice without feeling like you need to change anything. So if you notice that you're sort of fidgeting through your feet or your hands, see if you can allow them to relax. So imagine that your thoughts that you're experiencing now are like clouds in the sky. And you'll notice that those thoughts, they pass through the sky like the clouds do. Like the clouds that we've been having in Melbourne recently, a lot of them. But always behind those clouds is the sun. So even if you're feeling thoughts that are busy or uncertain, or even thoughts that are making you fidget, note that there's always that constant of the sun there, bringing warmth and light. And if we focus on that feeling of the sun rather than all of our thoughts, we find that we can lie here a little stiller, maybe even a little quieter. It's a little quiet space for ourselves. You may notice as well that things slow down a little, like not just the thoughts, but maybe your heart. Maybe things just feel a little gentler. Just by visualizing or imagining that those clouds are passing through as your thoughts do across the sky. And always in yoga, we give ourselves the opportunity to have a lying rest, lying back like this and just allowing things to pass without us trying to change anything so much. Imagining that you are in a safe place. It feels good and comfortable, and whatever's happening in your body or your mind is okay. You don't need to change anything. Maybe you notice things, what you're hearing. Maybe you notice feelings on your skin. Lots of different things we can be aware of when we're not just running around or moving by rote or moving automatically. We're slowing things down for us to perhaps pick up on other things. Great. Let's roll over to the side now. And then sit yourself up. How are we doing so far? We're doing okay? All right. So some of you may be aware of the term of mindfulness or awareness. It's basically an idea that we're trying to let ourselves be engaged, present with whatever it is we're doing. So rather than just thinking ahead of what we need to do or reflecting too much on what we did in the past, we're in this present moment. We're not trying to do anything else other than observe whatever it is we're experiencing now. And then sometimes that means that we might not be in a comfortable space, but we can be okay with that. So the next little exercise we're going to do is just a gentle focus exercise. And I encourage you just to try focusing on this task, but also whatever else you're noticing, just let that be as ineffective as possible. So you're not trying to do anything other than this simple task. And all it is you take your finger up to in front of you, you point a finger, you take a breath in, and then as you breathe out, you look to bring that finger to the tip of your nose and you follow it with your eyes. And then as you breathe in again, you bring the finger back out away from you. As you breathe out through the nose, you bring the finger towards you, touch the tip of your nose. So when we breathe in, we're bringing the finger away. And when we breathe out, we're bringing it to the tip of our nose. Not too bad, huh? You can kind of focus on that and that feels okay. So this time, keeping that same rhythm with your breath, but now close your eyes. As you breathe in, the finger comes away from you. As you breathe out, the finger comes towards you. Can you touch the tip of the nose? You might miss a bit. That's okay. Keep trying with your eyes closed. So if you don't actually hit the tip of the nose, that's okay. Focus more on the movement of the finger with your breath rather than trying to be exact about where you're bringing that finger. Try 3 more of these. But if we don't rush it, if we follow with our breathing, then we pretty much get close to where we want to be. But we keep a nice steady focus. All right. Let's open the eyes, shake it out a little bit. So these sort of things are helping us with our focus, but also allowing things to happen, whatever else we're experiencing. We can do it also with our 2 fingers here. We bring them out in front of us. We bring them to touch the tip of the fingers. As we breathe in, we bring the fingers apart. As you breathe out, you bring the fingers to touch. And all you're doing is you're just trying to connect the movement of the fingers together with the breath as you exhale and bringing them apart as you inhale. And you're just watching. Now, it might seem like it's a pretty boring thing, but if we're not reacting to what we're thinking, it's actually quite simple and calming, potentially. But a lot of the time, we react mentally, emotionally, because we think it's something else, or we're not actually engaged with what we're doing. We're thinking of something else. But if we just focus simply on just bringing the fingers apart as we breathe in and together as we breathe out, then maybe things aren't quite as busy for us emotionally. And then if you want to make it a bit more challenging, we close the eyes again. And you might miss by a long way. But that's okay. Focus on the rhythm of your breath rather than actually trying to get the fingertips to touch exactly. If anything, maybe you can slow your breathing down a little. It might get a little frustrating at times because you're not getting the fingers to touch, but that's okay. Try 3 more of these. In time with your breath, rather than worrying about the fingertips actually touching perfectly. Last one. All right. Now, if you can keep your eyes closed and lower your hands to your lap or on your thighs, see if you can sit up now, but try not to fidget too much. So with your eyes closed, again, imagine the thoughts that you're noticing are like clouds in the sky. And some of our thoughts are a little darker clouds than others, or some are nice and bright, but they're all just passing in front of the sun there. And you can even visualize yourself standing in front of that sun. Maybe even with your rugby mates or your family or your best friend. And you can almost feel the warmth of the sun. So our imagination is a really powerful friend for us to be able to use. And if any time you start to feel like you're a little bit over anxious or overexcited, you need to calm down a little bit. You don't have to be sitting. You can be walking in the street. You can be on the rugby pitch. You can actually visualize this sense of the sun warming you and calming you. And then you can respond from that. As long as you connect with your breathing and you just allow whatever else is happening, but you're still with that. You're not trying to fidget or fuss around too much. Maybe some of you can do it without even having to visualize or imagine the sun. You could just feel this sense of the breath moving in and out. But a lot of the time for us to sit still with our eyes closed is really challenging. Maybe even bring your hands to your belly if that helps. But try not to overbreathe, just to allow your breath to feel like it's doing its natural thing If it helps, you can imagine even that there's a balloon kind of inflating in your belly. As you breathe in, it extends or expands a little. And as you breathe out, it just slowly shrinks. It's not happening too quickly, not too haphazard. It's just a gentle inflation of the balloon as you breathe in, and a gentle release or drawing back towards normal as you breathe out. And having quiet space for ourselves is really important. And it really only needs to be 30 seconds or a minute. You don't have to be trying to do it for too long. And you don't have to be doing it here sitting down. As I said, you can be doing it in the car, even a quiet moment at school for yourself. Just 30 seconds to sit, focus on your breathing, and you might find that anything that was kind of sticking with you for a long time can just pass through a little bit because you've been able to breathe it through. So that's a really good exercise to do for yourself in times where you don't feel like you're being watched or anything. There's no one else around. You can just have a little quiet time for yourself. You can even do it with your eyes open if you like. It doesn't have to be done with the eyes closed. And this is a really good way to help us, as I say, not get caught up in our thoughts so much, not be moving just by automatic pilot. We're starting to recognize this moment that we're in. We're breathing, we're responding to things, but we're not overreacting. We're not getting emotionally upset or overstimulated or excited by things. And that may go a long way to helping you when you're making decisions on the rugby pitch as well, because you're responding to what's needed to be done rather than being too emotional about what the action is. And then your judgment gets a bit impaired, or it gets in the way of the actual practicality of what you're playing. So always allowing yourself to respond to your breath is a really good way to move through your rugby games, as well as what you're doing off the rugby pitch as well. So that's flown by pretty quick. Do any of you guys have any questions at all? If you want to ask me a question, you can press your unmute. Or you can raise a hand and maybe Jace can unmute you perhaps. Anyone there? Any questions?
No questions? I've got a quick question then, Tam.
Yeah, Jace.
Thank you. So when we're playing games and things don't go right and you get frustrated, maybe the ball didn't get passed the way you wanted to, or your teammate didn't pass it to you, or you dropped the ball or something. What's a little, I've forgotten this camera. What's a little quick tip you can give somebody when they're out in the middle of the field or puffed and stressed, just to sort of relax a bit, like you were saying, and focus?
Yeah, look, things aren't always going to go our way, of course. So if something doesn't happen the way that you want, as best you can, rather than responding immediately to that and reacting and sort of turning that onto somebody else or on yourself, take a breath. Take a couple of moments just to take a nice deep slow breath in and out, maybe even a couple, 2 or 3, and you might find that little bit of space of you breathing and not reacting and is giving yourself a little bit of opportunity to calm down. And then there's always going to be another chance for something else to come your way. So if we don't hold on to that feeling for so long and we don't immediately react to it, we take a few 2 or 3 slow breaths in, you might find that initial kind of response, that feeling to respond, quietens down, and then you just get on with what you're needing to do. So a lot of us are responding to what we think we want to happen, is actually just us getting a bit too caught up in the emotional side of things. So what we're looking to do is calm down, take those breaths, and then make the best of the opportunity that comes our way. So nothing is lost by, or nothing is wrong by something not going our way. It just means we can actually learn from that, and we can build and get stronger from that. So just watching if you have a tendency to get a little bit too frustrated or react very quickly, take 1 or 2 slow breaths in through the nose and out the nose. And then you'll find that it's a great way just to kind of clear things through your head, through your body, and then who knows what may happen the next time that ball comes your way. So yeah, try not to blame yourself or somebody else. Take a moment, take a breath, and then see what happens.
That's fantastic. Does anyone else have a question? I know we're right on 7 o'clock. So I'll come up. Anyone else? No? Okay. So I'll just finish up. Just want to say thanks, Tam. That was really, really fantastic. And I know if you are used to playing the game and you're going hard and fast all the time, I know if you're young, you may have found it a bit difficult sometimes just because you're always stuff going on. But this is a really great, important lesson to start learning now so that you saw we did a lot of deep stretching. We did a lot of deep kind of just being aware of where you are. Really important skills to have inside the game. If you have a look at the top athletes, the top people that play rugby or any other sport, you'll notice that they don't get stressed out and they just focus. So we're going to start doing this one when we're talking about focus, because that was a fantastic exercise and just being in the moment on yourself. And I think it was a really good lesson because you know what? Not many other kids your age are out there learning this kind of things at their sports club. So we're really lucky to have Tam here today. Tam is the voice behind the Smiley Mind app, which has been downloaded over 6 million times. So so you guys get to have him today on your own in this special session. So if you just want to say, you can unmute and just say thank you to Tam for having us here today. It was really great. I'd suggest tomorrow go for a walk. Just keep the stretching up because on Saturday, hopefully you're doing some hard running. Okay, so thanks a lot, Tam.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tam. Thank you.
Good luck with the rest of the season. I hope you get to play a few more games this season. And yeah, anytime. Happy to help. Keep well.
Right. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Tam.
Thanks,
See you,
guys.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Pleasure.